Sweet. So this is the first video that we are doing on Tingenuity AI. My name is Jacob Tingen, and I'm here with my brother, Warren
Warren
Tingen.
Tingen.
Right. And so we have been very excited about artificial intelligence. What? Go ahead.
I said we probably don't need to, throw the last name out there. We just say Jacob and Warren because, once we get it going. So,
Yeah. We're Tingenuity. That's us.
First one. Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are going to talk about AI. Let's do that because it's a fascinating topic and we're both supremely interested in it.
So a little about us is you are a business owner. I am a business owner.
That is fair.
Lawyer, graphic designer. And ever since, we've been visiting, for more than a year now, right? Like we just get on every week and kind of talk business and different things.
Right.
And then since AI came out, AI has been around for a long time, but since ChatGPT came out and became popular.
Since these generative,
talking about, yeah.
Well, since the generative types of AI have been seeing headlines and seeing utility in what we're doing and how it's impacting work and making it more efficient, we've definitely been talking about that because it's impacted both of our aspects of labor. So you with the law, me with marketing and branding. What does that all mean? And so we found a lot of fascinating opportunities, I think.
Yeah. So one of the first videos that I did about artificial intelligence was with my law firm's YouTube channel. It was about advanced ChatGPT techniques to play Dungeons and Dragons. And I thought, hey, this fits kind of with AI. It's new. I'm just going to throw this up where I have it. But it's gone on to become one of the most popular videos on my channel. And so Warren and I have decided to continue the conversation. Go ahead.
Which is fascinating that it's become one of the most popular videos on a law firm's channel.
Well, let's be honest. Law, not that interesting, right?
People need law information to understand, but, this is definitely a spark of creativity that usually doesn't sit within the law. But
yeah. Well,
unless you're a rules lawyer in Dungeons and Dragons, right? So...
Yeah. So anyway, we see that this is an emerging topic, right? And it's something worth talking about. And so it feels like every other week, some new feature comes out on ChatGPT. And so we kind of wanted to share some of those things. And then every week we will be posting a new prompt, new instructions, and talking about artificial intelligence today, not just ChatGPT, but also Midjourney. We've done a lot with Midjourney. We've done a lot with ChatGPT. To the point that you've been doing client work with Midjourney and with ChatGPT. Is that right, Warren?
I have. And that's what's fascinating about this technology is that there are a number of platforms, Jasper, ChatGPT, Google's Bard, Claude, and then in the generative AI art frame, DALL-E, and now DALL-E 3, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and others. But Midjourney, I think in my current usage of it, beats out the rest of the competition. And I have used it for opportunities to help clients with things like rezoning or concepting for buildings, interiors, exteriors, that kind of thing. In fact, we used it, my wife and I used it for some, the monument sign outside of our subdivision got hit. And we wanted to, see what it would take to get a new monument sign. So I used Midjourney to help me create a monument sign for the front of our subdivision and sent it to a sign vendor and had them give us a quote. So it's roughly $8,000 to have a new monument sign posted at the front of our subdivision.
Fun. Yeah, I've been using ChatGPT, Midjourney not as much professionally, but just for fun. Obviously, I see the opportunity for applications there. But then when it comes to ChatGPT, as a lawyer, you're always writing. You're writing client letters. You're writing court letters to other people. And then also you work on court documents. And I know that there's been some interesting articles that have popped up in the news when it comes to lawyers using ChatGPT and whether or not they're using that in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And so... but in the way that I've used it and tried to use it, I feel like I've been using it responsibly. I check my sources, that's for sure. But it's interesting to see
It's important.
it's interesting to see the use of AI as it comes up in terms of what lawyers do. I just attended a continuing legal education seminar, which is one of those requirements lawyers have to do. And one of the seminar was about ethics. And the guy, it was a 3-hour kind of seminar, and it was planned to be focused on one topic, but he went off for like an hour about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, and said, this was not planned, and talked about how all of these issues are kind of a big deal right now.
Right.
And I don't think that that's going to stop. In fact, I think it's going to accelerate. I know that artificial intelligence, you've probably already heard of it. You've heard of ChatGPT. You've heard of Midjourney. And if you haven't, you will soon, because of the amazing things that this technology can do.
Very true. I'm excited for it. I've been using it in my work and sharing it to anybody who will listen. It's a really exciting topic.
A bit of an AI evangelist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm totally on that spectrum of evangelism for AI. I've been recently doing a bunch of presentations to real estate professionals to show them some of the capabilities and wow them. And it's been really entertaining to share with those individuals as well as architects and others and see what their thoughts are and how they could implement it. In fact, yesterday I was talking to a broker in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he was asking a lot of questions about how he could use it to improve his newsletter subscription. And so we wrote a quick, simple, kind of right there, dirty prompt that generated some ideas for him. So, it doesn't take a whole lot to do it, but I think, Jacob, you and I are going to talk a little bit more about how to make good prompts and then provide those for our audience. And that's one of the things that I think is lacking in this current thing is like and I have to say the lack of sharing some of that knowledge that has been accumulated. Yes, there are these headlines and, it's going to do these amazing things, but let's talk about how it's doing these amazing things and how you can use it in your own life to make things. I mean, talk a little bit about what you've done. You've created workout plans and asked it for menu plans and things like that. And so, and we'll show here some things that have been done. But it's interesting to see what impact these things are going to create in the near future.
Yeah, so for me, I have been using artificial intelligence pretty much in my daily life, because when I first started using ChatGPT, I pretty much stopped writing anything except for quick emails without the help of ChatGPT. It's that useful for me. But then recently, I have been super blessed to have this opportunity to move to Spain with my family. And kind of take a bit of a year sabbatical from my law firm. And while I'm still involved, it's not on a day-to-day basis. I'm more of in a managerial function. And I'm excited to do this project with you this year while I'm in Spain. But back to the AI bit is that I'm fluent in Spanish. And one of the things you learn is that in the many different Spanish dialects and different ways they speak in different countries, is that everything is different, right? So like one word in one country, even though it's a Spanish word, might have a different meaning in another country. And so I get to Spain, and the vocabulary for Spain Spanish is very different from what I'm used to, because I learned in Argentina, and in the United States, there's a lot of people from Central America. There's not as many Spaniards from Spain speaking Spanish in the US. And so I get here, and instead of carro for car, it's coche, right? That's just one example that I already knew before I got here. But then there's like all sorts of words. And so one of the ways that I've been using AI is that I opened up a ChatGPT thread, and I've been setting some instructions like, hey, always give me the Spanish version of this word. Help me figure out how to order these items. Like, even though I'm fluent in Spanish, it's a bit of a cultural adjustment. And so it's been really fun to see, frankly, how good of a job ChatGPT does of identifying the words for specific dialects. And it's gotten to the point where I'll ask it, what does that word mean in this country versus this country or that country or that country? And it's really kind of fascinating to see what it comes up with.
Yeah,
I don't know if you'd be interested in looking at it, but I'll show you the thread later.
no, go ahead and share. I think it's fascinating, and I've been thinking about when you first told me about your usage of that. I started considering, well, what if I used it as a, kind of word of the day vocabulary builder tool to
Have
help
you
me
done
increase.
this?
No, I haven't, but I've been thinking about it, and so now I'm really considering it. Now that we were talking about this, because I mean, as you know, I really enjoy having spoken Spanish in Honduras and love the language, and so I think it gives me a lot of joy to expand that vocabulary and be more fluent. I love speaking Spanish. Anytime I get the chance, I do it. So, especially with natives, and it had there's thankfully a number of immigrants from various Spanish-speaking countries here that I get to share that with and create a bond that is, I think, missing from many people's experiences in life. So,
Yeah, well, I also think what's cool there is you were talking about just your vocabulary, and I didn't. Is this Spanish vocabulary or your vocabulary generally?
no, my Spanish vocabulary. I think
Spanish
I'm
vocabulary in particular.
I think I'm pretty well versed in English. The
I wasn't implying you weren't. That's
Well, no. It's fine that you can imply that I'm not. I mean, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the dictionary or a photographic memory, but I think I get around well enough. But you also have to consider, the manner in which we learned our Spanish. So it was focused on a religious aspect rather than a day-to-day
right.
living or a inserted into a particular business aspect. So with your law practice, you learned a lot of vocabulary that was around that type of thing. And for myself, I haven't put forth that effort to learn the vocabulary needed for my type of business.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting when you mentioned that was this idea of using ChatGPT to expand your vocabulary in English. Like, what kinds of information would you give it, even in English, to say, "Look, I've got an MBA. I'm super good at graphic design. Help me build my vocabulary." Like, how would you craft that prompt? And I think that'd be kind of fun to do too. But
yeah, we should definitely do something like that. But you got to consider it too, like what you were saying with Spain Spanish versus Argentina Spanish versus Central American Spanish. And even within Honduras, when I was there, North versus South, there were different words for different things. And it's the same here in the United States, because we have such a diverse population spread around this country. And I imagine any number of other countries have similar issues, or this slang version of a word is different. So here in the South, everybody's like, "Give me a Coke," and they mean a soda.
Right.
They mean just a soft drink. Right. Yeah. And it's like, or if you go,
Coke is in Atlanta, right? I mean,
that's fair. But you go out west, you say pop. And so what is it? You can use that to help non-native speakers in English learn the language and learn the local or geographically interesting words. So I think there's a number of applications that what you've already experimented with could be applied.
I'll show you a couple. So there are some words that I would expect to find, or some products in the store. So you know me, I like to make cookies, right? I make chocolate chip cookies. And so when I got to Spain, one of the things that I had trouble finding was like actual brown sugar.
You're going to make me want to make cookies now, dadgummit.
Yeah, wow. So I've got a whole thread here about how to get the right kind of brown sugar, which I've learned is muscovado, right? But if muscovado is brown sugar, similar to brown sugar in the U.S., what is azúcar moreno de caña integral? Because I was looking for muscovado and other things kept popping up in my search results. But here was a fun one.
Well, the second one is the one that I know is brown sugar.
It says, "What is marshmallows in Spain?" And so I really like this, which is, I'd heard malvaviscos in Mexico, but they call them nubes, which I think is fun.
Nubes.
Which nube means cloud, which is a good one.
I think in Honduras, they called it algodón de dulce.
Algodón, so like cotton? Sweet cotton?
Sweet cotton. Yeah, I think that's
Sweet
what they called
cotton.
it. Algodón de dulce.
So when I was looking for brown sugar, it gave me, like when I would search online or on Amazon or whatever, it'd say
Right.
azúcar moreno de caña integral or also azúcar moreno de merara. And so I spent some time with ChatGPT just like, what's the difference between these two? Because I'd bought some at the store and it was really big grains instead of like the soft brown sugar you have in the US.
Oh,
So, and
I've
then,
seen that
yeah, and then
in
yeast
a
as
Mexican
well
store
versus,
tienda.
oh, you've seen like the
The
grainy
big
brown
chunky
sugar.
one, the chunky one. I was like, what is this? It's like,
You can make cookies with it. The flavor is actually stronger
well, it's probably higher molasses content, but
or
at any rate,
something.
that doesn't have anything to do with AI. So, I mean, we could talk about cookies for sure. Turn this channel to a baking channel.
Well, I'm sure ChatGPT could help us with that too. But I've opened a new prompt, and so if you were to build, Warren, a vocabulary builder, what would you put in the prompt? Just by way of example, so that people can see like what ChatGPT can do.
Well,
And I'm going
like
to do this in 3.5, just FYI.
oh, 3.5. Okay. Well, as far as vocabulary goes, I would, like I said, the structure that I have in mind is like building a word or 5 words a day to let it sink in. So I would just ready a prompt that says, I'm going to inquire every day about, and this is like a thought process. Don't start typing this
Oh,
yet.
I was about to start typing.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the thing that I do when I'm getting ready to do a prompt. I'll open Word or some other texting and I'll write it out. Kind of
Sometimes
look.
I will too. Yeah, I've done that.
I'll write
Yep.
it out and then look at it and go, oh, okay, does this make sense in that in for a large language model like ChatGPT? And can I refine it to give it more emphasis on where I want it to go. So that I think we've talked before. We've talked before that the specificity that you give these platforms, you're going to get better results. So the higher the specificity, the better that result is going to be,
Yep.
and then you engage in tinkering with it. So thinking about this, I want a vocabulary thing that's going to give me 1 to 5 words every day that I can memorize or engage in my mind. So I would write something like acting as a linguist expert in
Okay.
the Spanish or English language. Please provide me examples or please provide vocabulary words to help me increase my, well, let's not say vocabulary words. Please help me find words to increase my vocabulary in Spanish language. And you could put a region or something like that if we're talking Spanish only. So you could say, I'm looking to better my Spain Spanish versus my Argentinian Spanish or whatever.
I'm going to put country of Spain since it's on topic. Here we go.
Right. I would do country of Spain. And then I'm going to be reusing this prompt on a daily journey to increase my vocabulary. So I wonder if there's a way to get these things to set up automated where it will spit out or send you a notification.
That's something I want to do on this channel. Is I want to like start to do. I want to start playing with the plugins, particularly Zapier, because I know you can do cron jobs and stuff. So I think that there's definitely a way to do that.
That would be
It's
fun.
one of those things I want to explore.
Then it just shoots you a text. Here's your vocabulary word for the day.
Yeah, and customized to you and what you need instead of just like
Exactly.
a word of
So
the day from the
customized to you.
dictionary.
So
It can.
yeah, we'll have to research that a little bit because that would be fantastic.
Well, we can also set this prompt up in the way that we do like the Dungeons and Dragons prompt that I have, like, don't write until I say, or when I say this, give me this output. And so, I will log in to chat to you, log in to you each day and ask for my new word by saying new word. When I do, please give me the following information. Right, and then I'm gonna start.
So I would say things like that information. I would say, give me the word, give me a definition, and give me an example.
Give me the word, Give me the the Spanish word. Give me the definition in English. Do you want the definition in English? Give me the definition in English and Spanish.
Give me the definition in English and in Spanish. I also would, as a fan of languages, I would like to know some etymology information. So where's the origin of that word? Where did it come from? Because that would help cement it into your mind, because you understand
etymological information about the word. Finally, use the word in 3 example sentences.
Okay, that's fair. That way you get greater context
and then
for
I'll
it.
say, in your output, use Markdown format to make it easier for a human to read. This is one of my things that I like to do to tell it, is to use Markdown format, because I think it makes it easier to read. All right.
Well, no, it does. I use it for my social media posts when I'm idea generating. I create the Markdown table with those ideas.
So it went ahead and said, of course I'd be happy to help, right? Let's get started. Day 1, sobremesa. Do you already know this one?
Sobremesa. Over the table? Over the counter. Over the counter.
That's literally what it means, is over the counter or over the table, right? But right. I've heard this phrase already in Spain. So it refers to the period of time after you've finished eating dinner and you and your family continue to hang out. And it's just a relaxed conversation that happens, right?
That doesn't sound like a very American thing, but I'm glad they do it.
Well, I'll share this with you. Our kids, the first time we went to a restaurant, right? Like, we go to this Mexican restaurant and they give us our food.
In Spain?
And then in Spain, yeah.
Oh, wow. What? That's a culture shock.
Mexican restaurant in Spain. We're sitting there.
Okay.
We eat all of our food and we're like, are they going to bring us our check? And we're just sitting there hanging out. It's kind of nice, actually, because our kids are like, well, we're done. Let's go, But it's kind of nice to be forced to sit there and just chill for a minute. But it goes on for a long time. Like the sobremesa, they will let you sit there forever, which blows my mind, because it's not efficient for money or whatever. Like in an American restaurant, it's you're done. Here's your check. Get out of my restaurant.
Yeah, they're about turnover and how many people they can throughput. They're about the throughput. Yeah.
So no, but listen to this. Etymology. It gave us the etymology. It bolded the Spanish word, the English definition, the definition in Spanish. I love how it said English definition and then in English, definition in Spanish, which is the order that you would say it in Spanish. Definición en español, right?
I was thinking about that this Sunday, about the way Spanish is structured grammatically versus English. And I was like, Spanish is like speaking like Yoda, honestly.
Yeah, if you were speaking in English in Spanish grammar structure.
Yeah.
But then it gave me the etymology. It says the word sobremesa comes from the combination of 2 words, sobre, over
Obviously.
or about, and the mesa, table, right? It literally means over the table, just like you were saying. So you didn't need the etymology. You got it. You nailed it. And then it gave 3 example sentences.
I guess the etymologies that I'm looking for is word origin. What?
Let's revise
the study of origin of words. That's what through history, etymology. So
I want to better understand
where it came from,
the history and origins of the words I am learning. Let's see what it says about that. All right, so it's thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It is derived from the Latin phrase supermensa. Basically, it means the same thing. So, which means over the table, right?
But it's interesting, you break down, and I think this plays into the whole AI conversation, because if you look at the progress of language and how it changes, we can look at AI in the same way, how it's going to evolve and change over time and either become more concise or a little bit more convoluted. You look at some words in English and you're like, why is that word that way? It's so complex when it doesn't need to be. And so we switch, and you can look at what I love on Google, that it shows word. You can see a chart of usage along the time of a
Yeah.
word sometimes, and so that's kind of fascinating. But the etymology of things. So what was it? Supramensa?
Supra
Mensa.
mensa.
Mensa. So supramensa. So how did it get to sobre mesa? So moving from one Latin language to another.
It says, oh, no, I should have read more of this. It says, in medieval Latin, this phrase evolved into super misa or sopa misa, which referred to the time spent after a meal when prayers were said. Over time, as the tradition of saying prayers after meals faded, the term sobremesa in Spanish came to represent relaxed and social time spent lingering at the table.
Ah,
So,
that's interesting.
this evolution from a religious term to a social and cultural one highlights the deep historical and linguistic connections that shape the Spanish language. And then I already asked it for a new word. Do you want to know what your word number 2 is?
Yeah, let's hear word number 2. It's not
Desvelado.
sobremesa. What?
Desvelado.
Desvelado.
Yep. What do you think it means?
Well, desvelar is not flying. Volar or
No.
velar?
Velar.
Oh, with a B and not a V?
With a V.
Oh,
Desvelado. Desvelado.
I don't know.
It describes the state of being sleep deprived.
Oh, that is an interesting word. Desvelar. Wonder why desvelar.
Well, velar means to watch or stay awake, like velar, to watch, to be on watch.
True. Velar. Yeah.
So pretty cool.
That is interesting. That is entertaining. But we can go down the linguist rabbit hole all day long. I love, the study of words is always fascinating. How those things came to be. Why do we call a frog and a tree, and why are not they this different? So
Yeah. Well, I mean, so one of the things that's interesting about ChatGPT, well, and you just made me think of the word museum that I was telling you about the other day. We went and it talked about where all these words
yeah.
and languages come from. And it talked about how half of our words are Germanic, the other half are French, and the other half, and the remainder is, a mix of a bunch of different languages. But when I was at this word museum in DC before we came to Spain, there was one display presentation, and it's all like such and such author says that cinnamon is their favorite word, but is it really? Let's analyze their entire 52 books work of Earth life, right? And so it then took 2 seconds and goes, ding, I'm done reading. And it's all like, and I've analyzed all the words they ever used to write with. And it's all like, yep, this author does use cinnamon 4.5 times more than the average author. So we can see that they clearly like this word. But then it said, but it's not their favorite word because they use this other one 45 times more than other authors. And I was like, mind blown. But what's interesting is this kind of exercise enriches our life. And I think a lot of people look at a technology like AI and they get scared and they say, this is going to ruin everything. But
Right.
I think that that's just a matter of perspective. Like for me, so far, having this little guide, it's better than a dictionary. It's better than a translator. I can literally turn to an expert on Spanish language in my pocket at a moment's notice and get
Right.
the information that I need in that moment. I mean, it's freaking awesome.
No, I'm right there with you. Too many people are infected by the Hollywood version of AI, where it is the Terminator coming to kill you with Skynet and those kind of things. And while that is yet to be seen in reality, because AI doesn't have any sentience, it's pretty dumb and inert until we're messing with it. Until Boston Dynamics creates the first Terminator, I guess. I don't see there's much worry about it, but yeah, I'm
What's interesting
excited
is,
for the possibilities.
now that's something that we haven't been able to play with our kind of limited skill set and access to, ChatGPT and whatnot. I'm sure that the application of AI and robots and robotics is already happening, right?
Oh,
But
for sure. I mean,
the scope of what's going to be available, that's when robots truly become a thing, is when they can operate semi-autonomously with the help of AI.
Right. And that's what I tell a lot of people. We've been using AI quietly for years with
Yes,
Netflix
yes, we
and
have.
our phones and all these other things. It's just, this is a different type that, this generative AI stuff with ChatGPT, Midjourney, and other platforms that are creating and generating content based on previously trained things. So I'm
How do you feel
excited to
about the
see where it goes.
idea of model collapse?
Model collapse?
Yeah, the
That
idea
is
that like
unfamiliar to me. So explain.
it. Oh, okay. So it's the idea that once ChatGPT exists because it essentially read a lot of the internet. I don't think it's read
Okay.
all of the internet, but it's read a lot of the internet.
Hopefully
And
not. There's a lot
other,
of bad things on the internet.
yeah, well, it's not. No, but it read a lot of books. It read a lot of things, right? But then one of the concerns is that everybody uses ChatGPT to then generate the next round, the next 50 years of literature. Then it starts to eat itself because it doesn't have new content from which to continue learning. And so model collapse has become a concern alongside the whole idea that, well, the robots are going to come for us and destroy us.
Well, and that's when ChatGPT first kind of came out. A professor, friend of mine, and I, we were talking about it and just kind of showcasing things that we've been using it for in our own personal lives. And he expressed a concern that, well, not a concern, but he expressed um, a theory on why we've never encountered intelligent life in the universe. And it's because of AI. That once the AI was able to, they stopped inventing, they stopped being innovative, they stopped all these things. And so they no longer needed. And so I think it plays into your whole dialogue with the model collapse. But I think that's false. I think we as humans, we're too inquisitive, we're too curious about how things are and what the world around us means. Now, not everybody is that curious, but there are too many other people that won't be satisfied with the status quo of what an AI is providing to us. And so I don't see that as being something. I see it definitely being something, but I don't see it being maybe as impactful as societal collapse or something of that nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I personally don't think the technology will disappear because, sure, yeah, I mean, you could find ChatGPT eating a lot of information that it itself has generated or created. But as you and I have discussed, and as we will continue to discuss, is that you have to train the model while you use it. A lot of people
Yeah.
just when I've shown AI to some people and I use it, and you still have there's an element of teaching it correctly, of training it to get the right output. And some people will just use it and be like, well, it didn't give me what I wanted. This is dumb. And then they move on.
Right.
Whereas it's just like any other skill, like learning to prompt it to get the right information. Like I know it took us 2 seconds to create this language prompt, but this is actually kind of fun. Like I think I may start using it myself. Sorry to steal your idea, bro.
Well, we collaborated. We made it work. You'll need to send it to me so that I can put it in my own ChatGPT feed so that I can
Right.
start using it.
I will share the thread, right?
But this plays into. Let me interject this real quick. But this plays
go
into
ahead.
what I tell people that are using ChatGPT or any other AI platform. Is like, yes, you can use it, but you need to base everything on your expertise. So you know more about law than I do. If I was going to try to write a dismissal, I would have to do a lot of research. I would be asking ChatGPT for hours to understand what that meant, and then have it do that. So I don't have
Right.
I don't have the base knowledge where I do in marketing or in branding, or and as I've told these real estate professionals, if you wanted to do an analysis or risk assessment or evaluation of a property, you have that understanding. You have a better understanding of that. And so you bring in those people that have that expertise, you run the AI because it is efficient, and then you verify it, make sure that it's right and that it is true, good data.
Yeah, and that's something that you and I have discussed, which is this idea that yes, you can use ChatGPT to learn. I mean, that is literally the example we just did, right? Like adding
Right.
words to the vocabulary. But you can also use it to it's more of a job enhancement than a job replacement. And we've talked about this too, that some people are going to lose their jobs, but it's not going to eliminate lawyers altogether. It's not going to eliminate marketers altogether, because someone is going to be steering this ship, right?
Yeah.
There will always be construction workers directing the robots who do it, right? There will always be lawyers who are saying, well, this is how we're going to do this. And so I think there's this human component that allows you to direct and create at a more rapid pace than you've ever been able to before. And that's brilliant. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and to feed into that, you look at the inception of the internet when it started to become big, and everybody's like, oh, it's going to eliminate all these jobs. Well, no, it created more. And now we have web designers, and we have, SQL coders, and we have computer science majors who are building X, Y, or Z. And, so it's just expanded the footprint of available opportunities. Excuse me.
Yeah, and so it's just a matter of time to figure out what those opportunities are. I've been reading in the news. I've been reading in the news a couple of things where, not even the people who've created these tools know what these opportunities are. I've heard that is it Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, which is the ChatGPT software, and then Joni Ive from Apple. I read an article that they are working on a device to integrate artificial intelligence into daily life, similar to the iPhone. So people are looking for what's the next smartphone? What is the next device to truly bring the technology into our daily lives? Frankly, I just think it's robotics generally. I think that's definitely one of the big scenarios. I think the Amazon Echo is probably in the right direction for what a lot of people will use daily, because even before this,
it really enhances the Internet of Things. Like this truly does enhance the Internet of Things, because I think maybe not in this recording, but we were talking earlier about taking a picture of the inside of your fridge, and it plans a meal for you. But at some point, AI will just scan the contents of your fridge. You could hit a button and say, "Provide me ideas for a meal," and then it pops up on the screen on the front of your fridge, and it says, "Well, you have XYZ. You can make here's the recipe." And then you open the thing, and you've got moldy whatever, and so you have to pitch it, and you say, "Give me another recipe." So,
no, that's been one of the other prompts that I've used. Like I said, I've been using AI on pretty much a daily basis. So I've got the Spanish language translation prompt, which kind of helps me discover vocabulary that I need. But then also I've been using it for workouts. I've been using it for recipes, for meal planning, for shopping, for grocery shopping. So I've had a set of prompts where I'll say, look, this is my family. This is what we eat. My kids are picky on these things. Give me a healthy meal plan. And then it's all like kale and chia seeds. And I'm like, no, not that healthy, right? Like, let's back off a bit. Normal human food, right? So I back it up a bit.
Chicken nuggets.
And lo and behold, no, it hasn't just descended to chicken nuggets, but it has given me like healthy options, and then and then it'll give me the recipes too. So it gives me the shopping list. What I can't wait for though is I've looked at this, and I was trying to look at the Zapier integration with ChatGPT, because I think that's frankly a place to leverage like lots of cool things, and I want to spend more time doing that. But I would love it to be able to take my grocery list from ChatGPT and zap that over to like the Kroger shopping cart that we would fill up to, for our order or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's going to be amazing when that happens, because I still have to like find everything and put it in my cart. I mean, I know that that's a first world problem, right? But it's one of those things that like we're so close to solving, where I could just be like, hey, ChatGPT, take care of my shopping for the week. Thanks.
Right.
Based on this criteria that I've already given you and these set of custom instructions, you already know my family, you already know my preferences. Just shop for me, Now, that's going to be truly miraculous.
Right. No, it is. And I think you're a little bit more informed on the custom instructions that ChatGPT has than I do. Can you set custom instructions for one thing and one thing alone, or is it a series of things that you can say, if I ask you to do this, function this way? Or
well, that, man, is why we are doing this channel, because I have not played with it that much, but we should definitely.
Okay.
And we should play with it live, right? Like nothing wrong with learning with everybody else.
No, I have no problem with that. I mean, it's funny because all these people that say that they're supposed experts of AI, it's been out for a year and a half, 2 years maybe, and no, you're not an expert. Uh, let's still lean on the expertise of those in the areas of business and life that they have that expertise, and make sure that these AI platforms are giving us the true things. So.
Yeah, so hallucinations are a problem. We should talk about hallucinations a little bit. It's this idea that ChatGPT will generate fake information, right? And
Well, yeah, it's
that's called
synthetic data,
hallucinations.
so
It's synthetic data, right? So it'll just give
hallucinations.
out. That's what they
That's
call
funny.
it. The
Oh, is that
blatant
what's
falsehoods. Yeah, that's what it's called when it gives you blatantly false information. You're just like,
hallucinations?
no, that's wrong. Hallucinations.
The
And so,
mirage around the oasis that is ChatGPT.
well, that's where that lawyer got in trouble. I mean, you know this story, right?
Right, right, right.
The lawyer asked it to write a brief or a motion or whatever, and cited cases that did not exist. And then when the judge called the lawyer
Check
out
your
on it,
sources, folks.
well, this is the thing. The judge called the lawyer out on it, and then the lawyer said, "Well, ChatGPT says they exist, so they exist. See, here's the citations, right?" And like, instead of like actually checking at that point and saying, "Oh, sorry," right? They doubled down. I mean, it's completely absurd. So,
Yeah, no.
yeah,
This is
you've got to be
new tech.
aware. Right.
This is
Go
new
ahead.
technology. It's not infallible. It's not. I mean, humans programmed this. It's not.
Right.
It's not.
It's not perfect.
No.
And it will make things up. And so, like, when we've used it for legal stuff and it spits out a case name, you've got to check the case name. I mean, you were just showing me before we hopped on that you wrote something with ChatGPT and had it cite its sources, and then you checked the links to make sure that they were legit, right?
Well, yeah, it didn't provide me links because unfortunately there's only paid third-party plugins to get links to connect to the internet right now, which is really kind of frustrating that ChatGPT doesn't have that as a native feature in there and so now it's still saying, oh, up until January 2022 is the extent of my data. So, but it provided, articles from 2021
Oh, that you were
or
then able to
earlier.
search for online.
And then I searched those up on Google and said, okay, here's the link, and then copied and pasted that link into my thing after I verified that, yes, that was a true source. Now, there were two when I was writing that article that I was like, this isn't the exact title of what ChatGPT said. And I skimmed through the article and was like, okay, but it still fits what I'm saying, and it still has reference to X, Y, or Z. So I used instead.
Yeah, so that's interesting that it can make mistakes so readily and frankly so confidently. But that just goes to the point that, like you were saying, you still need to trust the experts
Right.
who are using AI instead of just trusting AI completely.
Exactly. And I think we need to make sure that we're not, what is the word? Not complicit, but comfortable with, you said ChatGPT is confident in its responses. Well, it's an inanimate program, large language model. It has no feelings. It has no true opinions. So it's just spitting out the material that it's been fed in a different way. So, and that's one of the questions that I've gotten received many times when I've shown Midjourney is the question: oh, is this just produced art, or is it grabbed from some other source? And there are some nuances of that when you look at those things. And the same thing can be said of ChatGPT, but it kind of reminds me of the story of the guy that made the windshield wipers that really invented the transistors on windshield wipers. There was a whole movie about it that I saw. It was really entertaining, and he won the case, suing Ford or something for stealing his thing, because he showed that Moby Dick was written in a certain way, and that to plagiarize that exactly, you would be plagiarizing. But if you did it in a different way, it would not be. And that's what ChatGPT does. Is it organizes those words in a different way. Though there are some issues with plagiarism, we've got to look at that, make sure that those
Yeah, that's
things
something
are
we need to talk about. So there's issues of plagiarism with ChatGPT. It's a predictive model, right? So it predicts what the next word is likely to be based on the context that it's given. But then the other thing is, my understanding is that Midjourney and these image generators do the same thing. And
yeah.
so when it comes to the copyrighted material, and so me being a lawyer, and then I've got some other lawyers that I can probably have jump on with us and talk about this stuff more in depth. But one of the issues has been that some of these image generators have even generated like something that's very similar to the Getty Images watermark on top of the images. And so that's how Getty knows that, these AI art generators have been scraping the images on their websites. And that's why they're a little hot and bothered about it, because they're saying, hey, well, you violated my copyright, or the copyright of the people who have photos on these platforms, which I think is a valid concern and something that should be talked about and discussed.
I think that exact kind of duplication, it definitely needs to be looked into and reviewed but I have my own opinions when it comes to that, because as a designer, as someone who's creating those kind of things, I always recur to the internet and do Google searches on images to, influence and
you do
inform the designs.
Right.
Just I'm not as I don't have the capacity to remember everything as if it was a data storage center. So my little brain can only hold so much, but a data storage center is going to have gigabytes of information. So there's a lot to be said about that whole what is plagiarism and what isn't, and I think it's going to be interesting to see that shake out, because
and there's also a lot to be said about who owns the copyright to AI generated art, AI generated output, and those are debates that are being held right now, actually, in the legal sphere. So I in this conversation, we've talked about a lot of what AI can do, what it might be able to do in the future, what it probably is going to be able to do in the future. We looked at some examples, literally in the interface, for some fun Spanish language things. I'm excited to explore more. Yeah, it is. I'm totally going to share that thread with you, by the way.
Please.
I want to explore more the photo thing, because now that I want to race home and take a picture of my fridge and ask it to come up with recipes for me, because that's fun. I haven't done that yet, but it totally could. Like, now that it can see photos, it's awesome. Anything else we should cover before we close out?
No, I think that's really good. I really like. I think that AI is going to help us learn more. When people talk about this and they have that fear of it's going to take over, our lives, or I'm going to lose jobs, or things like that, or it's going to make us more, not apt to investigate or to be innovative or inventive. I always recur to the story that I heard about writing, when there was previously oral historians was the way that history was given until we came up with a written language. And I recall a story I heard years ago where an Egyptian oral historian, an oral historian, was lamenting the fact that people were writing things down now, and he was always asking the question, well, you're going to forget everything. And now we've seen that, yes, our memories are a little on the shorter side, but we are able to have more information at our fingertips rather than having to store it in our brains. And so I think that's just as that writing allowed us to progress more, I think this is going to allow us to progress even more. And as we analyze things and come up with new innovations, it's going to allow us to make better lives for everybody, to be totally honest.
Yeah, it's the kind of technology that has that potential. So I'm excited to be alive while this is around. Yeah. But I'm excited to be talking to you about it, and I look forward to doing it here every week, here on our YouTube channel, Tingenuity AI. So thank you for listening to a couple of brothers talk about this really fantastic technology. Next week, we're going to do a deep dive on our Dungeons and Dragons prompts. That, again,
Yep.
we already have very popular, very often viewed video on my law firm channel, but we're going to kind of revisit that topic, update the prompt, and show you how you can get the updated edition of that prompt as well. So that's coming next week, and we will see you guys then. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.